takes us to item 4, call to the audience. Don't have any slips. I do not see anybody in the audience. So we'll move on to item 5, reports. Superintendent Dr. Gretchen Dorman.
Vice President, staff, members of the board, just a very brief update on our strategic planning process. We've spent the past few weeks since the workshop in the stage of interviews. Our team of directors and managers at the district have broken into categories. We have done thousands of lines of data at this point, interviewing parents, students, community members, local government, what other categories? Local education, teachers, and support staff. And so they each person, and they were randomly selected. We didn't go through our list and pick who we were going to speak to. Karen generated a legitimate random selection, and we've been calling, and that data is really growing. We're excited about the next stage on April 29th, when we'll come together with principals and other stakeholders, and we'll really take a look at the interviews and look for some patterns. We've already had some major ahas, specifically in the area of parents. You know, and just as a small foreshadowing example, when you talk about meaningful, two-way, and productive communication with parents, we really had to define what the term meaningful communication with parents means. You have communication where you send home the report cards and you put a one call out there and you might put a Facebook post. That's great communication, but what we're learning is meaningful communication to a parent is really about their individual students and are we meeting their needs at all levels, and then how can we better communicate that. So that's just a piece of a huge portion of the strategic plan that we're excited about. Mrs. Goldie and I went out and did the student interviews on campus with a whole variety, a whole spectrum of students, and they too really wanted to have those conversations. So the process is going well. We're continuing, as we'll talk about in a couple of the agenda items tonight, working on the scan of our processes and systems of the district. I'll take that. After that,
Okay, thank you. Board report, Ms. Beth Weiser.
Okay, so this is about the National School Boards Association, that conference, the annual conference. Are you able to hear me okay? Okay. That was virtual this year, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 5 to 6 hours each day. That got to be a little difficult, I have to admit. It made me not like online school so much. But some of the main things that I concentrated on, because I could choose from different ones that were available, and I concentrated on some school nutrition, equity, and mental health areas. You knew I would. So just like 2 years ago, I've got ideas. One of the big things that stood out, though, was they did some really cool keynote speakers. Soledad O'Brien spoke. Her parents had been teachers. And Dr. Viola Garcia is now the new president for the National School Board Association. She's out of Texas. She's amazing. And then Sean Achor, Achor. That was I've got more pages on his speech than pretty much the rest of the conference. His was about positive psychology, and the happiness advantage is the name of one of his books. So I will be getting with you, Dr. Dorner, about all of this information because it's pretty incredible. There were some statistics he was just rattling off. It was amazing. I couldn't write fast enough about how just feeling better, feeling happier made you better. It raised test scores. It helped your physical health, the whole thing.
I look forward to meeting with you.
Yeah, yeah. And then we also heard from Eddie Glad Jr. I don't know if you have heard of him. He did an equity speech that was really cool. And of course, I circled a thing that mattered to me. Conformity stifles the soul. If you know me, you know that would matter to me. Anyway, so just to keep it short, that's it. And we have access to the conference for another 90, well, almost 90 days. And I can get with you on how we can get in there. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Item 6, approval of the routine orders of business. Any comments by any of the board members? If not, looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Have a motion by Ms. Shumway, second by Ms. Weiser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 7, discussion on exam exemption from the student handbook for the high school.
So this is an item that I requested to be added. This has always been in the back of my mind, but I spoke to a teacher / parent about the inequity of this policy as it's been implemented in the past. And then I reached out, and for those of you that don't know, there is a policy in the handbook that provides students the ability to be exempt from the final exams per semester, correct? And this is just for high school. Does the middle school implement any version of this?
Not that I know of. no.
Okay. So basically based on attendance and grade, they can be exempt from taking the final exam. So I'm looking at the Lee Williams policy. This is from the student handbook. The exam is not to be, I just pulled it back up on my computer, so I'm not sure exactly where I was reading this, but oh, here it is. The exam will be worth from 10 to 20% of the student's final grade. So this is dictated to the teachers that they must provide a final exam, and it's going to be worth a certain percentage of the student's final exam final grade. And the departments will make the determination of weight and value. And then the exemptions are, if you have a 90% grade average in a class with 3 or fewer absences, you could be exempt, or 80% with 2 or fewer, and not 70% with 1 or none. So I'm not exactly sure when this went into effect. As far as I know, this was in effect when my kids were going to school. Does anyone have any background on that? When it became?
I don't know
part
when
of
it was.
this?
I wasn't sure why it was on here, and I don't know when it was first implemented, but I can tell you that my kids, who are now not young anymore, it was there when they were there also. I believe originally, going from memory, because I've been in the district, that the goal was to increase daily attendance. And one way and success in the classroom. So the combination of the two is what I remember. And it worked. As a high school principal, I can tell you kids were coming to school because they were trying to earn the exam exemption and trying to keep their grades up. So I believe that was the original, but I don't know when.
And what?
Maybe Mr. Jackson will know.
I remember it being in place when I got here in 2006
Yeah.
with Kingman High School. We didn't have Lee Williams, of course, but with the Kingman High School, that type of policy was in place.
Did you go to school here in Kingman?
No,
Kingman High? No.
but my oldest graduated in '02.
Uh-huh. And it
And
was in-
I think this rings a bell.
Mine graduated in 2000 and it was in effect.
Yeah.
1985, and it was not. I took my finals.
So this has been in this book for a very long time. And I don't quite, I mean, what's the philosophy of why do we even need final exams, right? It's to reinforce the learning that took place over the semester. If that is important, then it should be important across the board. If it's not important, it should be not important across the board. So to me, this doesn't feel equitable. I don't think that we should be using final exams as punitive because this is what it feels like. You didn't come to school, so your punishment is now you have to sit for a final exam. If that is truly how it came about.
I could see where it would feel that way, but it also has the you weren't present at school, and especially if you had a lot of attendance issues, you're supposed to be present at school. It's your opportunity to show proficiency and earn the credit if you're not already there. So I mean, I could see both sides.
So, and I could see that if the final exam only provided you an ability to raise your grade, but that is not the case.
I think that is the case in some situations, but that would definitely be a conversation that we could look at systemically.
It says if you are not required to take the exam, you can take it
and it won't hurt you.
And it won't hurt you, it will only help you.
Right.
So in those cases, again, it's punitive for the students that really do need the grade, right? So I think philosophically, this policy is wrong. I don't think we should be punishing students for not coming to school because that's exactly what it's doing. Or not getting the grade with a combination of not coming to school, right? If you have a 70% and you would need the ability to show proficiency, 70% is showing proficiency, is it not?
Yes.
So we're saying 69 and below, a D, is not showing proficiency, correct?
Well, you still get credit.
You do.
Yep.
So yet this policy doesn't reflect that.
Okay. Well, the board can give me some kind of direction if you'd like to.
Thoughts, board?
I think this is a good thing to put into the strategic planning process. And then get those different viewpoints and see what we can do to make it better.
Well, here's the other issue. Is this actually a policy? This is just sitting
Procedure. It's procedure.
This is just sitting here. So this has been, and it's different for KHS.
Right.
So KHS.
And KHS did take a break from it during the tenure of one principal.
So it's up to the principals to do this, if they can make that decision, right?
And they did make that decision to change it this year, as I shared in the email, that
From exams.
certainly do not want to, not encouraging good attendance or students being at school sick this year. So to your point, did not want to be punitive for people who were absent due to the pandemic, either quarantining, being ill, or not wanting to put themselves in the presence of a possible transmission. So they did change that policy for this year. And there were a lot of conversations during high school collaboration about it all the way around during that time period.
Well, I think we have to be careful calling it policy.
Yeah, procedure.
Procedure.
If we're looking at KHS, I'm looking at here, it says the exam will be worth from 10% of the student's final grade. So it looks like somebody like delete, because Lee Williams says 10 to 20%, from 10 to 20% of the student's final grade. KHS says something different.
Right. And I can tell you because I was at Lee Williams for that 20%, there are some classes, I feel like there needs to be standardization. I've always felt that way. I'm about systems and standardization, so I am not going to disagree with you about that. And it worried me where one class One instructor might feel the exam should be 40% of the grade, or, just great high percentages. And that's why I did add that cap. I shouldn't say we as a collaborative group added that cap.
Okay.
That was something that I noticed that they were different and it concerned me. And then I thought, wait a minute, they're different cells, they're different beings that each high school. Well, each school is its own environment and has its own culture and so then it's where do we draw the line of how the same they are, or how much do we let them be different? I mean, we don't want them completely different from each other. We're
Culture
one
and
district.
Culture, policy, those are two different things. You can have different culture, but same policy. And we have transient students in this community. We even have students that among the same family go to different schools.
Yeah.
We have to be uniform in just the basic regard. But
I would agree. Our
something as
population
important.
is small enough that we should be standard in a lot of like these kind of things.
Yeah. And it's something as important as grades,
Yeah.
should be policy and
Well,
not
grades are a district-wide standard or a district-wide cell, to use the same word I used before. As far as you graduated from Kingman Unified School District, not Lee Williams or KHS, if you're talking about going
Graduation
on,
requirements.
Mhm.
and on your resume, it's KUSD.
and
So it
yeah.
should have that standardization for
And-
grades.
And as an educational institution, we should be focused on the value of the education.
Mhm.
And if final exams don't provide the value across the board, then why are they even required? And if they're not, or if they are, then why aren't they all required? So it goes with the philosophy of what's a final exam and why do we do it in the first place? And why is whatever that philosophy, why does that go out the door depending on how many times you attended school? So I think in general, this entire thing is flawed.
This, I remember this being an issue numerous times in the 11 years that I was there. We talked about it and usually it was quite compassionate, the discussions were, and some people were very adamant about the necessary of having some type of final exam. I would feel comfortable, I'd recommend getting some type of committee together with teachers and administrators at the two schools and sit down and review this and take a fresh look at it and come back with some type of recommendation to the board.
Absolutely. We have high school collaboration regularly, as we did when you were here. And it's an excellent agenda item, and I would invite a board member representative to join us.
I would love to. And I would also like the option of a capstone rather than this idea of just a
Oh,
paper
absolutely.
test.
There are a lot of us that love the idea of a capstone. Yeah.
So, I mean, we just need to find that definition of what a final exam is and how it benefits our student or doesn't.
So, I mean, we could take 2 board members. We couldn't have 3. Jen, I hear that you would like to join us, either of the other 2, Roger. So I'll invite both of you to the next high school collaboration.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right,
Awesome.
Thank you.
It'll be in the next couple weeks. No,
Okay.
I'll give you some options.
All right. Moving on to item 8, discussion on stipend analysis.
This was also something I asked for, but this was at the board workshop. It was a budget item on stipends. And I just requested just a breakdown of what it is we do pay and how much. Basically, my first thought was, are we paying the boys' sports the same as the girls' sports? What I didn't realize was the disparity between the schools. There's a huge difference of how much the varsity football coach for Lee Williams is being paid versus KHS, and so on and so forth. I could go down the line. So I'm just wondering,
Well,
how does this process work?
Yeah, and some of it is how they entered it, because I was, looking too where they might have entered all the coaches versus one of them. So the first step, and it's quite exhaustive, and I'm doing piece, and Erin is doing a similar piece, and we're really excited about the headway we're making because we're finding some of the facts that need to be addressed as well, which is why we wanted to do this. But we need to make sure that they all entered it correctly. We asked for the number of hours. For example, on the football coach, they have spring practice, summer practice, all fall, 10 games. So how many hours is a practice? How many hours are the games? And then how much is the stipend? And when you do the division on KHS, for example, I think it's less than $10 an hour. So then you turn around and you look at an activity where it appears that the sponsor makes a lot less, but they only meet 1 hour a week, 3 times a month. And so when you do the division, it really, I found a little bit less disparity in some cases than I expected. And then in others where it kind of jumps off the page, we're going to meet with Erin, the ADs, and then really drill into who's doing this and comparing the sports, and is middle school equitable to high school. So stage one is to collect it all, and we've done that. And now stage two is to come together with all the stakeholders in each of those different areas, and then look for the equity, and then look at, are we giving them enough money? Are we giving them a small amount, and regardless of how many clubs they have, do they have to spread it out amongst? One school only has 8, but they get the same amount in one school. And then that's where Erin can take over and talk about what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we're taking just as deep a dive, but I think prior to bringing that in front of the board, we would like to get it all in front of ourselves and kind of design some sort of recommendations. We hear you about the equity, but we also hear you about conformity stifles the soul. So we're trying to walk this line between giving principals and schools the discretion that we believe we've been asked to give, while also maintaining the equity district-wide. So it's just a bit of a bigger project than we would have, liked to have said a month ago.
So, I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
But I think that perhaps it would make more sense to have, like, in our budget, this is our baseline. But if schools have it in their personal budget to create, incentive to attract the best chess coach or the best football coach, they're choosing to use their same budget that all the schools have to build onto that. But there should be a baseline. If you are a cheer coach, you for whatever school, you're going to put in this many hours. Doesn't matter which school, this is the hours you're expected to put. You put on 500 more, that's up to you.
We agree. The
But there
expectation.
has to be a budget because it is a budget item. We have to be equitable across schools and across genders.
Absolutely. That project is as big as it gets. I mean, I've kind
This
of
is
been
why
on
I
it
asked
for 2
for
years.
this.
Yeah.
I've been
And you
on
could
it for a couple of years, to be honest with you. That's our dream, is to have not a full uniform, this is what you pay at any given moment, but here are the baselines and here are the justifications for increasing, and have all those ducks in a row, because then we're out of the business of delegating anything. We're just saying, there's the grid.
Yep.
Make your choices and provide your backup. But we have to work to that, and the river never stops flowing. So the money keeps getting paid out under old ways while we continue to work on creating a better system.
I think we're there, though. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
The work that Casey and Erin have been doing is looking at every teacher and every stipend they've earned and what for. The work I've been doing is tell me as ADs and principals what's on your campus and what you're paying, and then tell me why it's different. For example, there's a chess club at one school sponsor that makes a lot more than the other, and she called to explain to me she's had the same chess club sponsor for 40 years, I don't know, forever. And at their school, they use their own money to give an incremental raise every year to encourage longevity of the sponsor. In other schools, it's just been the same stipend every year, regardless of how many years. And so to your point on, Jen, if you have extra money at your school, go ahead, but here's the baseline. And And that's what I'm excited about all of it. I'm really glad that conversation happened at the last board meeting.
Because we would agree that we want principals to maintain a level of their discretion with their athletics and extracurricular. Is that accurate statement?
Sure,
Okay.
out of their own personal budget.
But you want it better defined what that discretion is.
Well, well,
Baseline,
yes.
yeah.
And I can't believe that this hasn't come up in some sort of audit so far as to where all this money is going and how we're accountable to it. Other than it's probably just one line item with a bulk amount.
No. Audits are much more of a deep dive than that. Audits get into the line items. Everything we've paid out is legal. You guys have
Sure.
approved everything. And
We've just not been looking.
what do you mean? I brought you, I think, 200.
No, I'm sorry. When I refer to my laptop, I'm talking about this Google Doc of the grid of
The one I'm working on.
The one she's working on.
Yeah.
You're right. No, that is a newer
The
look.
breakdown.
The first step was, okay, we don't have the discretion we thought we had as a district. Let's get everything approved that we're doing. Now let's make it uniform and find some sort of justification. And that's where we're at. We just kind of lost a year on it.
Okay.
There's no way around it on my part, because I could have pushed the project forward for multiple months and didn't, and worked on other things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we approve the budget, we are approving the old ways for this coming year, but this project in unifying and
We might be able to get that in with the new budget.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say
Excellent.
that yet. I think we could get a new stipend system in for the new budget and have you guys approve that along with the budget in June.
Mhm.
X.
That'd be the goal, right? If
Yep.
we're going to raise them by
Yep.
10%, might as well hit the equity. That's what you
Yep.
said.
Yep.
But something we also wanted to show is employee earnings with stipends included, because we keep showing them to you without stipends, and I think it tells a different story of our district with stipends. And so that's another piece I think we're bringing to you.
Right. So what he's talking about, which I think is another exciting way to look, we've been looking at teacher salaries and ranges. We had that very deep conversation last time. So we're kind of looking at W-2s, if you will. We know what we pay baseline and with the 301. But what are we actually earning with all the additional opportunities to earn money? What are our teachers actually making? So that's another component that he's working on.
And it's all staff. It is
All
teachers
staff, not
always
just
gonna be the
teachers,
main
right.
thing, but it's every staff member in our district. So you can see what type of opportunity does a para have compared to a teacher, if you wanted to look at that.
So all of these stipends are paid to current employees. We don't employ anyone outside of the district with stipends.
A handful.
Yeah, un poquito, just a few people who come back in and work on these coaching stipends that aren't actual employees of the district.
Okay, because I was about to name a few.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm glad to hear all of those things.
Yep.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we're pretty excited about it. It is big, and they have worked on it. Like the sheet, I think Rogers last year, I'm trying to remember when it was, when you came in with everything that we pay, and that's when we were looking at tutoring dollars and every kind of stipend. And that was step one to me, a really good step one on making things equitable. And now we're moving into the extracurricular ones.
Yeah, there's places where we're buttoned up. If we're talking about supplemental pay and
Right.
academics, we're buttoned up. That's
Yeah.
as equitable as it gets. We know exactly what we
Right.
pay, blank face walking in the door. It is this athletics
Right.
and extracurricular where we have some issues.
So maybe on this Google Doc, you could have, for example, you said that Manzanita puts in their extra amount.
Mhm.
You could put, what is provided by the district
There you go.
plus
Plus.
parenthesis what we top it off.
Or
so that you could
we can add
compare
a
it.
column, right? Yeah. District and then school additional.
So we can clearly see what
There we
they've
go.
been doing with the different money buckets.
Thank you. And
So
that's a great
funding
suggestion.
source of the stipends is
Yeah.
really big for you
Yeah.
as well.
Funding source, district or school.
Well, yeah, because we approve the budget line item extracurricular activity, right? Stipends versus something else. So that at least should be very clear as to what's going out on a regular basis.
Looking back over 10, 12 years, it's been really kind of a roller coaster ride because when our budgets were really lean and we didn't have the money, we cut a lot of stipends down,
To a
cut
dollar.
some of them out,
Yeah.
and made drastic cuts.
Mhm.
And then as the finances started getting a little better, started adding up, adding up, adding up. So it's been a long work in
That's a
progress,
great
and
point.
I really admire what you're doing now.
There
There's
was
a
like
lot of
5 or 7
stipends out
years.
now,
Yeah. 5 or 7 years was pretty much no stipend, I think.
Yep, absolutely.
And people kept working.
Yep, voluntarily.
We still have a staff.
I'm excited about this project too, because I think it's going to help more of the culture too, as far as people know that they're being treated fair, even though their pay is different from someone else, it's still fair. It matters.
Agreed.
All right. Moving on to item number 9, approve benchmark education.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, this has been on display for 60 days, and this will be, after approval, will be piloted for our EL program.
Okay, thank you. Looking for a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Now, second?
Got a motion by Ms. Shumway, a second by Ms. Weiser. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 10, Haggerty curriculum supplement to be on display for the required 60 days.
This came out of the mandatory dyslexia training that we all had to attend. We have to have a dyslexic expert at every building. So this was curriculum that they strongly suggested. We are looking at, others as well, but as you know, that we have to come to you with everything as we pilot.
Any questions?
Is
Okay.
this curriculum going to be integrated into the regular classroom, or is this a pull-out curriculum?
Well, this particular curriculum is a pull-out curriculum that would be done like during RTI time in the elementaries. Yeah. Not sure how it will look at high school level, but
Okay. Moving on to item number 11, authorize reduction in force of the technology teaching position at White Cliffs Middle School and take action to non-renew the employment of Stephen Shade. I move to non-renew the employment.
Wait.
Yes.
Did you want to speak to that? Oh, okay.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Did you want us to
We
explain? what
certainly
it
have
Kind of.
time if you'd like to.
Kind of.
Normally don't.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board. So this item is being brought forward to you as a continued effort to align the educators with the amount of students and also the particular teaching needs at that school. And so we're recommending the reduction in force of the technology position and to non-renew Mr. Shade's contract for next year. But as with other recommendations, he does have the opportunity to apply for a transfer into other open positions for which he is qualified.
And what White Cliffs is doing, just to add, student need right now, they're moving the technology component into the classrooms and integrating it throughout the day in the classrooms with Chromebook carts and teachers taking on the technology instruction. So technology instruction is not going away. They are going to be digital and online. They do that quite often at White Cliffs. But they also have a very significant need in the area of math, specifically after this year of pandemic. So they were going down a position based on student numbers, and they selected to go down the computer position and move the curriculum into the classrooms and then keep an additional math position. So they're going to have a math specialist working with kiddos to fill the gap over the next year. So it's kind of a multifaceted thing. So it's the position that is being, the computer position itself that is being removed.
So there's no longer a computer class to take?
Not a
That was-
specific, not an elective class. All
Okay.
all teachers will be responsible.
So
in their
there are
daily instruction.
K-12 technology standards.
Mhm.
Are those currently, when you're teaching math standard, the math standard needs to be posted on the board. Are we now requiring all regular ed teachers to now also post technology standards that they're going to address that day or that week on their standard board?
It's not necessarily by the day, and I can come back to you with a more specific plan on what they're doing. It's not every teacher every day, but they will be addressing the standards, yes.
Well, and I appreciate you answering that because I was going to ask, how many teachers for technology did they have? Obviously, that was my position.
Yeah.
But it's definitely can be done. I mean, the students were only in there for every quarter.
Mhm.
So if it's spread out over the year, it'll make more
Right.
applicable sense
Mhm.
in the classroom, applying their technology to what they're doing in that classroom.
As long as it's purposeful.
Right, and I'll have
Yeah.
Ms. Kabanovich write a narrative that I'll share.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
I will
So-
make the motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Then
Oh, go
have
ahead.
to buy the lawyer here.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I move to non-renew the employment of Stephen Shade due to a reduction in force and to authorize Angela Moravsky, Human Resources Director, to notify the staff on behalf of the governing board. Looking for a second.
Okay, a second.
The second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Okay, that moves us down to item number 12. Approve curriculum associates as sole source provider for iReady online curriculum and assessment for FY22.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, we're asking for the board to approve Curriculum Associates as a sole source provider for K-8 math, 6-8 reading, and on a limited 9 to 12 sped. The programs have been piloted over the last 2 years. I believe all of that's been brought to the board. If we have any questions on that part of it, those can go to Ms. Woolsey. For me, we've gotten it to the point of purchase. They are the only company that offers this software that's all encompassing as well as meets all of our compliance needs, thus the sole source request. And so I'll take any questions.
While visiting schools, I often heard comments, very positive comments about iReady. Seems like it's
Yeah, over the 2 years that we've been piloting it at the 2 schools, they've really been using it with fidelity. It would be Mount Tipton and Black Mountain. And then we have some other teachers in other buildings piloting it as well now, but they've only been doing it for the year. But it has really come out to be positive. I haven't heard anything negative yet. We went through quite a lengthy process of getting someone from every building to look at all our products, and iReady came out as everything that we are looking for.
And for the former teachers in the room and the former superintendent, it replaces what?
It replaces our study island and exact path
And Dibbles?
and dibbles. Yep. So there will
okay.
no longer be dibble sweeps, which we all know. I can hear the cheering now.
Yay!
It's that all-encompassing
So-
factor, right?
Yeah.
Once we approve this, it's then available to all schools, all teachers that it serves?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, looking for a motion.
I will make the motion.
I'll
Got-
second.
Got a first by Mrs. Shumway and a second by Ms. Weiser. All those in favor say aye.
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 Can I just make
Motion.
it clear that we have to make the purchase?
Oh, yes.
Okay, that's it.
That's a good point.
That's good. Yep.
Good point.
Motion carries. Item 13. Approve recommendations to renew District IFB 18-4 2320 for the delivered bulk oil, fuel, and related products to ROC Texaco LLC for FY22, which is year 4 of a 5-year award.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, this is Texmo and the bulk oil they deliver for us. We spend about $35,000 a year with them. They are going to honor all the prices from the original agreement despite their change in names, change in ownership. And so we're asking for approval on year 4 of 5.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Weiser, second by Ms. Shumway. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 14, approve recommendation for renew district IFB 18-03-2320 for offsite fueling stations to RC Texmo LLC for FY21, which is year 4 of a 5-year contract.
Similar to the last item, this is for actually fueling at offsite stations, diesel fuel and gas. We spend about 300,000 a year with this. They're honoring all of the prices. And again, this is year 4 of year 5.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion approved by Ms. Weiser, second by Ms. Shumway. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 15, approve recommendation to renew district RFP 19-06-24 for auditing services to Dobridge and Company PC for FY22, which is year 3 of a 5-year award.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, Dobridge has been with us now going for our 8th year. They're a strong company with really good customer service and consulting, and they also hold us accountable. So I enjoy working with them. They hold me accountable at every turn and does it with a smile, and it's very pleasant, and I learn from it. So this will be year 3 of 5. We spend about $30,000 a year, and that meets all of our state requirements and federal for auditing.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion by Ms. Weiser, second by Ms. Shumway. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 16, approve maintenance to proceed with the repair of an addition of asphalt surfaces around the district based upon pricing provided by Roadrunner Paving through the IGPA Cooperative Purchase Contract.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, we're bringing this to you because of how big it is. It's over $500,000. It's all under contract, so we could have made this purchase, or we can make this purchase without an RFP or anything like that. But we just wanted to be in front of the board that we are going to spend $500,000 on paving all of those schools, which includes Los Anita, Manzanita, Surbat, and Black Mountain. We'll take any questions, and Devin is here as well.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, absolutely.
The west parking lot, that is a huge chunk compared to the rest. Is it that big of a parking lot?
Can you
I'm
talk
sorry
about
to
that?
Ask that question, but
All the other schools are repaired, which is currently there. The west parking lot is currently a gravel parking lot.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's where all the students get picked up and dropped off at Manzanita. So it's a full new construction. And that's why it's so expensive. But it's currently to replace just the gravel area. It's not that entire lot that we own on the corner of Detroit and Rutherford.
Thank you.
I was really happy to see the attention to the infrastructure of the school district, and especially the parking lots and areas. They've needed it for a long time. We haven't had the money to do it, and making that a priority. I
Yeah, and
admire you in doing that.
these 4 schools in particular pose the largest tripping hazards. So that's why we're focusing on these schools' playgrounds currently. And we're not focusing on parking lots because of all the solar that's going to be going in.
Right.
There's going to be some collateral damage with the installation of solar. So that's part of our 5-year plan. So parking lots will start getting attention probably towards the end of next year.
Great.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Weiser, second by Ms. Shumway. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 17, inform board of amended contract with Frontier Communications to provide lease-wide area network for Mount Tipton only.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, there's no approval needed here. We just realized we're going to need more speeds at Mount Tipton and at the DO to account for the online schooling we're going to offer. So we upped the cost and thought we would make sure you guys knew since you approved that at the last meeting.
So it's still with Frontier?
Yes.
But we've bought
Same,
the next tier level of internet.
is that accurate way to put it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we actually 4 times the speed. We're at 250 megs at Mount Tipton, and Frontier technically is one of the only providers currently that gets the internet connection at Tipton.
And they've actually told you they can do that because I bumped mine one year and they said, oh, I'm sorry, you're not getting any faster speeds because our lines won't handle it.
Yes, they did. Yep.
Thank you.
There's always
Good
that.
point. Okay.
Okay, moving on to item 18, discussion of progress related to Mid-State Energy Construction Project.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, of course, we can answer any questions here. Everything is on track as I provided in the packet, but one thing to point out that I think is of interest is that by April, every school will have the bipolar ionization except for Lee Williams. And the only reason Lee Williams won't have it is because the bigger mechanical work they have this summer would conflict with that. So we want to do those at the same time, so we're efficient. And so we could have them all done if we wanted to be inefficient and double our work at Lee Williams, but we said no thanks. But it's going faster than we expected, right? And everything is moving along. I think we finalized the solar plans today, and can't say enough about Mid-State. Almost wish we had fewer meetings with them. Like it's been like clockwork, and so it's nice to have launched and actually see that we are moving forward. It's not lip service. It is boots on the ground, shovels in the ground, and progress. So
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Okay, moving on to item 19, approved donations.
I make the motion to approve.
And I'll second that with our tremendous thanks. And I especially noticed one huge chunk in there to Lee Williams from the Diamondback grant. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Motion by Ms. Shumway, second by Ms. Weiser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Yeah, I looked at that Lee Williams one as well, and I thought some congratulations really went out to Steve Petrosky.
Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah, take the initiative to do that and then get it. That's amazing. That's really good. Congratulations. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Adjourned.